All right. What's up, guys? You know who it is. Marcus J. Jackson, right? With another live for you. Live life number 17, how to raise your child's self-esteem. All right? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Let me adjust my camera. All right. How to raise your child's self-esteem. Okay. This Live Life series is for suicide awareness and suicide prevention. All right. So if you know of anyone who wants to chime in or needs to chime in, please share this video with them. What's going on, Chad? Good morning to you, sir. Good morning to you. One of my wonderful brothers at arms. So I am gonna make myself available from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. every night. All right. If you want to reach out to me, please feel free to give me a call if you need a listening ear. If you need a non-judgmental ear and non-judgmental feedback, okay? I can definitely give that to you if you need someone to talk to or listen to. If you need immediate assistance because you're in danger of hurting yourself or someone else, you need to call 911 immediately, all right, and get you some help, all right? If you need someone to talk to and you need other resources, you can always call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is 800-273-8255. Again, that's 800-273-8255. That is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, right? You can also chat with them as well. I put the link in the description, as well as with some other resources. It is suicidepreventionlifeline.org. All right, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Okay. I kind of dedicated this Live Life series to a buddy I was with in the Army with, and he decided to take his own life. He made that choice due to overwhelming circumstances that were going on in his life. So he literally couldn't deal with it. So he took his life into his own hands, and I just feel like it's not a lot of people talking about suicide or other mental health issues, and I feel like something, this can be a platform for somebody to, make the decision to stay with us as opposed to transitioning themselves. Okay. Like I said, please feel free to share this video with anybody. Tonight I'm going to cover most of the stuff we're going to be talking about comes out of the book called How to Build Self-Esteem in Your Child, Hide and Seek. It's called by Dr. James Dobson. All right, this is what the book looks like, and it's pretty good. It is a very, very good read. So if you're definitely looking for something to help you out with the little ones, this is a good book to read about. It's a very easy read. A lot of good stuff in there. It even has strategies and things that you could do to not only build the child's self-esteem, but there's a lot of other keys in there, like different things to look out for as far as them going into adolescenthood. Being there, being more dependent as a teenager, about trust, showing empathy and, all that good stuff. So it's a really, really good read. It also gives techniques as far as de-escalating situations. When you encounter a child who may be, dealing with low self-esteem issues, body image issues, and being bullied. It covers being bullied in here, and mostly it just focuses on what the parent can do to help the child, boost his self-esteem. And I thought that was I thought it was a pretty awesome book. It turned out to be a whole lot better than I thought it was. So, but yeah, all of my references will come out of here. Just in case you want to go look up some of the stuff that I'm saying and talking about. So that's it. Once again, if you are just now joining us, like I said, if you're in danger of hurting yourself or someone else, please call 911 to get you some help immediately. Right? If you can hold out and you need, but you still need resources, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 800-273-8255. All right. If you need to talk to me, I will be available until 2 o'clock. I'll do this video from about 12 to a little after 1. And after that, if you need a listening ear, someone to talk to, or you need some positive feedback from me, my contact number is 469-626-7486. 469-626-7486. If I don't answer, especially after 2 o'clock, please leave me a message and I will call you back. If not, shoot me a text message. If you call during the day, which you're more than welcome to, my phone rings 24/7 anyway. So if you call me during the daytime and I don't answer, I'm probably with a client. So please leave me a message or shoot me a text message. I will get back to you. That's a promise. All right. So anyway, let me go to the chat real quick. Check on anybody, comments. Okay. Good morning, Danica. Good morning, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. So feel free to comment, guys. Comments are like oxygen, good or bad. I accept them all. So you never know, something you may say may, cause someone else to, decide to stay with us. Okay. All right. So let's get grounded real quick. Let's bring ourselves back to our body. All right. Detach from the things of the past, right? And detach from what you are anxious about in the future. All right. So let's just bring it down. Relax the body. Take a deep breath. Last one, deep breath. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Like I said, this is How to Build Your Self-Esteem in Your Child by Dr. James Dobson. It's Hide or Seek. It's an expanded, updated version, which, like I said, was a very good read. And from my personal experience, because I coach children, I went to the Youth Life Coach Institute, Youth Coaching Institute, right? And it was Dr. Mazzola taught the class, and she was a kick-ass instructor. Very, very good, very thorough individual, and she deals with. She's more in the school system now. Works close, hand in hand with the school system, the Justice Department as well. So she's very, very good, very thorough, and I thank her for giving me the opportunity to learn from her. It was pretty good. There's a lot of things that I did not understand about children, just because I didn't have a lot of experience with with my own children being in my immediate home, right? So my children are in a blended family, so I I don't get to spend time with them on a regular basis. But when I met my wife, I had to get used to children being in home, like dealing with them on an everyday basis. Right? So it was just this. There we go. So it was a task. It really was. It was a task in learning how to how to deal with them. And I had to. I'm one of those types where I have to, I research and I study. So I have to figure out how to how to deal with something. I'll take it upon myself to either learn, teach myself, or I'm willing to go through and get my hands dirty on trying to figure out things. So I'm no stranger to that, or trying to find out difficult situations. So with that being said, I took the course, and it was very in depth, and I learned things about children, just like Dr. Hobson talks about in his book, as far as their their ability to learn and comprehend on a very, very in-depth level, right? Because the brain isn't fully developed until you're like in your 20s, right? So they're literally like the things that you do and the things that they see you do is literally shaping their thought process. It's literally, it's causing the developmental stages a lot of growth and influence, right? You have a huge amount of influence on a child when they're small, all the way up to even at 18 years old. So and like I said, the brain doesn't mature until like 25, 26 years old. So that's what most scholars who study the neurological development of the brain, neurologists, they say that the brain isn't mature completely until you're like 26 and whatever. So I was like, okay, that's something that I did not know. So a lot of things they cannot learn because they have, decreased frontal lobe activity. It's not active as it should be, or as it would be. And it's like, I didn't know that. So it's not that the child hates you or, they enjoy disobeying you, right? You have to tell them, like you literally have to tell them over and over again, to do something, and I don't mean that like it sounds. I'm not saying, spend 30 minutes trying to get a child to do something. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be patient with the understanding that, they're still developing, right? So a lot of concepts they're not going to get. So you're going to have to kind of drill, these things into them on a regular basis, right? And a lot of times we get fed up with them, we get impatient with them because we're telling them to do something 1,000 times, right? And I'm not talking about, if you tell them to take the trash out and they don't take the trash out, right? I mean, actually learning a life lesson. It doesn't, it goes way beyond just them being too lazy to take the trash out. That's another video in itself. So anyway, man, let's see. I am going to start with, where is my, here we go. One of the first things that the book talks about is they did a study of middle-aged women, anywhere from 35 to 45, and asked them what were some of the challenges of raising children. What was the most difficult, and for those that were depressed, what was their main reason for being depressed or being anxious or having anxiety about dealing with their children. And one of the main things that I can readily identify with is not having time, right? And being tired. Being tired and being pressed for time is a big deal when it comes to dealing with children, right? It's a huge thing. Why? Oh, there we go. It's a huge thing that a hurdle that you have to overcome, because when you're working 40 hours a week, or more, 40 hours plus, and your children, they tend to squeeze themselves. No, you tend to squeeze them off the to-do list, right? Because you're working 40 hours, so you come home, you sit in traffic, an additional, 1 to 2 hours a day, right? So that's an extra 10 hours. So you're away, commuting plus work for 50 hours or more, right? And depending on if you commute in, 1 hour. So that's 1 hour there, 1 hour back. Not to mention that if you have to pick up groceries, stop and pick up from the daycare and so on and so forth, you could be looking at just commuting an additional 2 to 3 hours. So nobody, and you can tell by the traffic and the way people are doing, having fender benders, having wrecks, and road rage and the whole 9 yards. You can tell they are not excited. They're not excited about being in traffic, right? But we're so rush. Gotta hurry up. Gotta do this. Gotta do that, right? The children don't really fit on a timeline, right? Because once we do get home, we have to cook them something to eat, make sure you help them with their homework and get them in the bath and all that. And don't be married. Heaven forbid you're married and trying to do all this, right? Because you got a wife or a husband to attend to after that. So you're looking at 16-hour days, that you're working. And it's like, man, when it's time to play, it's time to sit down and relax and talk to the little one. And as soon as you get a moment, you're falling asleep, because you're tired. You can't go outside and throw passes with your son. You can't play tea with your daughter because you're tired. You're sitting there drinking tea, and you leaning over like the dogs leaning over, falling asleep. It's just the way that it is, and I hate it because society has put so much pressure on us to be, to work and work and work and work. Work hard and work your fingers to the bone, 8 to 10 hours a day. Don't even mention those of us that work 12-hour shifts, or 10-hour shifts every day, Monday through Friday, and some of us work on the weekend, because we need the overtime and so on and so forth. So I did that, right? I worked 16, 18, 20-hour days, 22-hour days, right? To take care of things, and it takes a toll on your body, physically, and mentally. So putting children in that equation is very, very difficult. And sometimes they deal with things, they're going through things that we never even know about because we literally don't have time for them. Okay? So I would invite you to pick up this book and read it, because it definitely shed some light on a lot of things for me. And I was like, wow, I said I got to share it with you guys. And a lot of children who attempt suicide or commit suicide, a great deal of them suffer from neglect of their parents. And we never know it, like we never see it coming. Because, when you talk to the parents, it's like, I had no idea he felt this way. I had no idea they were struggling with this. So it's like, what? How could a parent not know what was going on with their child? Well, I just told you. I just explained to you. They're pressed for time, and when they do have time, they're tired, right? Because somewhere within that 24-hour period, you want to sleep. You want to sleep a couple hours, and the time that you get to sleep, isn't quality because you got to rush to get into bed, at 11, 12 o'clock at night when you get ready to lay down, and you got to be up at 5, just to take the children to school, drop them off, and, make it to work before 8 o'clock. So it's just the way the world has us flying around like busy little bees. All right. So yeah, be mindful of that. Like always make some time for them. And I know it's going to be hard, and I know it's easier said than done. I still struggle to find time, even for myself, right? It's hard. It's not an easy task, but I make the best of it when we're riding to school, and riding home from school, and on the weekends, we get, we find something to binge watch on Netflix, which is very, very therapeutic, if you will, because we're all in the same room. You're all watching TV together, and eat together, and all that. Anything that you can do together is good. They value that. Trust me. The children really enjoy any time that you give them, right? Just be mindful, and you'll see, signs of neglect, and signs of, they'll be whiny, and they'll kind of be clingy. That'll let you know that, you might want to spend a little more time with them, or you may want to pay attention to that behavior. It's not just them being bratty children. It's not just them trying to get on your nerves. Like they're really, in need of your attention, right? At some point. So just, don't always just discount it as them being, like I said, a brat. Pay them some attention, make some time for them. If you can, make some one-on-one time. Have a date night with them, if you will, where especially if you have more than one. It's always good to kind of get that one-on-one time with them. Maybe arrange for a babysitter for the other one, while you take the other one out, and just spend that one-on-one time. And maybe once a month, that'll be something that you can look forward to, or something they can look forward to, as far as having you all to themselves, because that's a thing with children. They want to be able to spend some time with you alone, and they may not want the other children around, right? They just want to hang out with you and them, and that's nothing wrong with that, right? So that was something new for me, because I'm like, if I'm, why am I just going to hang out with one child when I just take everybody out and we're going to do our thing, right? But that intimacy is something that they want. They want to be able to say, hey, I got to hang out with Dad. It was just me and him. Or I got to hang out with Mom. It was just me and her. They value stuff like that. So, keep that in mind. So, being fatigued and pressed for time was the number one issue. And one of the things that he also talked about was parental insensitivity, right? Parental insensitivity. And this one is very, very key into in how to raise your child's self-esteem. A lot of times when I get, I think I got a sneeze coming. Excuse me. Take me a sip of this good old. So I know a lot of times when we coach children, or I meet a child for the first time because their parents, they say, hey, I want you to talk to my child, so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, cool. When I first meet them, I always want to talk to the child first, right? I do it a little different. So I talk to the child first to kind of get an idea of how the parents are, right? Because usually, 9 times out of 10, the child doesn't lie. I don't go right up to them and say, hey, tell me about your parents. I just, just, hey, your parents wanted me to talk to you. I said, but I want you to talk to me. Let me know, what's going on with you. Because a lot of times there's, they know that your parents, that if they see you talk to the parents in their presence, they know that the parents is probably going to say something negative about them. So I always stop and I say, hey, just if you can't hang out for just a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and talk to them first, right? I let the child hear me say that I'm going to talk to them first, right? So it definitely helps kind of break that trust barrier. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. He wants to see what I have to say first, because a lot of times, they see you report about them, and it's like, you're saying all this negative stuff, and they can hear you. They're like, well, Marcus is he's on medication now, and he can't do right in school, and things are just, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him. The doctor say he's got ADHD and all these other alphabet diseases, and he can't learn right. He's got brain damage, and I think it's brain damage. That my husband thinks it's brain damage, and we think he's on drugs, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, he's standing right there, like, oh my God. Like, you want to, just totally being insensitive, and it's not it's out of love. I mean, it's genuinely out of love, because if they didn't care, if the parents didn't care, they wouldn't be trying to get them help, right? And I feel like any parent that is trying to get their child help definitely loves them and cares about them. Probably just doesn't know how to go about it, how to get the most effective results in showing how they care and love. So, and once you bring awareness to them, about certain things, they tend to make changes for the better. And I just, I don't know. Please watch what you say around your children, because I can remember I did a speaking engagement one time, and as soon as I got through talking, one of the ladies came and said, I need you to talk to my daughter, because she just thinks she's grown, and she thinks she's ready for the world. She's got all these young boys. She's out here wearing, these skimpy clothes, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I said, hey ma'am, let me talk to her. Let me talk to her first, and just kind of get a feel for her. All right. And I had to stop her, because, the young lady can hear. I mean, she's standing right there. So I immediately, after seeing that, right, prime example, after hearing her mom say that to me, right, this young lady just got through listening to me talk or whatever. So whatever I said that she could relate to, or she felt like she could talk to me about, now she's standoffish. She feels like I'm going to judge her if I come up to her and talk to her. And that's exactly what she did. I went to talk to her, and she barely wanted to talk. Like, she barely spoke. And after, I got through actually getting her to open up, and she was like, I hate when my mom does that. I don't, I never get to talk. She always talks for me. And I was like, oh, so yeah, I can tell. I can tell that that's what happens, because, she didn't get a word in inchwise. And you always want to be sure that if you are in the presence of a child, or if you're talking or discussing that child, make sure that that child is nowhere around. You may not even want to talk about it in the house, because if the walls are thin, they're going to hear you. And, you wonder why the child's got an attitude with you, or, and you're surprised that the child has attempted suicide or is at school acting out because of the way that that you indirectly treat them. Like I said, I know you do it. We do it out of love, right? Because I'm not exempt, because I used to do it too. I used to, talk about my frustrations with my wife about my children, or about her children. And it's like, they could hear me. And I was like, I had to, I saw that was affecting the relationship. It was affecting them in a negative manner. And I said, oh, you know what? Let me flip that. After learning, these concepts, in the coaching class, in the whole nine, I just thought, then yeah. So if you definitely have anything negative to say about the child, you want to keep that to a minimum. And also inform your teachers of the same thing. Now that you've learned this, right? Share it with somebody. So just in case their children, you never know. They may be doing it to their children unknowingly. It may not be, something that they're doing intentionally, which a lot of times they're not. But they don't know that they're doing it. So, please share this video, or share that little piece of information, and, hey, they'll thank you for it. Let me see. All right, let me go to the chat real quick. Who's on there? Okay, what's going on, Chris? What's going on, Lennox? Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate it. All right. So, yeah, I think that's it. Let the teachers know, because the teacher, they indirectly do this as well, and they're pretty much programmed through training, not to say anything negative about the child. But when you back the, when you back that diagnosis or alphabet disease up by asking the child, did you take your medication? Or do you need to go to the nurse and take your medication? In front of all of the other children. I've volunteered at schools, and that's been the situation. And I'm like, no. Oh, it's like, you didn't take your medicine today, did you, Marcus? And I'm just like, did she really just say that? Like, she said that in front of all of the children. All of the other children. Do you need to go to the nurse and take your medicine? And it's like, oh, wow. So, I mean, any self-esteem issues that this child has have been magnified 1,000 times at this point. Like, really? And, doctors, they do it as well. In this book, How to Build Your Child's Self-Esteem, he talks about a doctor doing the same thing. So the parents they take the child to the doctor because he has quote unquote brain damage, right? So the doctor does tests and, all this good stuff, spend, 30, 45 minutes. And he sits the child down in the same office with the parents and says, okay, let's talk about little Marcus's brain damage. Right? So, and the problem with that is the fact that once a child hears you say they need medicine, or you constantly remind them that they need medicine, or you say they have any of the alphabet diseases, or they have brain damage, or they have a mental issue, and if they do, that's fine. I'm not saying, deny the fact that they have it, but saying that to them or in earshot, they begin to identify with that, right? They're like, oh, well, they act out and their behavior reflects, what they've heard, and they say, And how you know is they say, oh, I have ADHD. Oh, I have brain damage. You know, that's why I can't, you know, if you say, hey man, is everything okay? What's wrong with you? You know, you're approaching them in a manner, questioning their behavior, and their excuse for their behavior is said, oh, you know, I got ADD. You know, or I have ADHD. I mean, and we do that as grown-ups. You know, as adults, you know, I can't pay attention to nothing long. You know, we say that about ourselves because we got an alphabet disease, and I can't pay attention to long. You know, I can't do this for a long time because, you know, my attention goes over here or my attention goes over there. You know, we identify with this stuff ourselves, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why? So now the child thinks it's okay to have ADHD or any other alphabet diseases because mom and dad has it, and mom and dad identify with it with no problem. So, you know, it's it's just something that we have to pay attention to, guys. All right, you have to pay attention to, and just be mindful of it. Okay, don't be insensitive with the child. Just be mindful that if they can hear you, their image in your eyes is what feeds them, right? So they want to, in their mind, their image of you becomes worthless. You know, they think that you think they're worthless. They're you know, a burden or a problem. You know, or you have an issue with the way that they, you know, the way that they are, and it's not that you do, it's just for the simple fact that, you know, you genuinely care, but, you know, it's not something that you ever paid attention to. So pay attention to that. All right. So let's be sensitive of, you know, talking about the children in their presence or to someone else about them, because they begin to form opinions about the child without even talking to them. You know, that's why I always talk to the child first, because if I talk to the parent starts painting a picture of the child, and I'm kind of like, oh wow, you know, so I'm going in apprehensive about what to say and what not to say and what not to talk about, and, you know, I limit myself if I talk to the parent first and they give me all this negative information about the child. You know, it's a lot. But hey, stick with your boy. I'm gonna help you work it out. All right. So anyway, if you're just tuning into this video, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline if you need immediate assistance at 1-800-273-8255. They have resources available for you. If you are in danger of hurting yourself or someone else, please call 911. All right, and get you some help immediately. If you want to talk to me, I will be available until 2 in the morning. And my contact number is 469-626-7486. If you call me during the day, please leave me a message. I will get back with you, I promise. If not, leave me a text message, and I will get back with you, guaranteed. Okay. What else? Okay, good. Let me check the chat. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, once again. How to raise your child's self-esteem. Okay, that's what we're talking about tonight. How to raise your child's self-esteem. So let's see. We covered fatigue and being tired and time pressure, right? And parental insensitivity, and I'm also talk about guilt, right? So the third thing that he mentioned in the book was guilt. So I'm gonna actually read at this point, because it's some very, very good information that I want to touch on. Okay, so guilt. It says in the and I'm reading from the How to Build Self-Esteem book by James Dobson, right? And this is what he has to say about guilt, right? In case you haven't noticed, parenthood is a very guilt-producing affair, right? Even for the dedicated professional, the conflict of interest between the needs of children and the demands of adult responsibilities as described above is only one of many inconsistencies which can strike pangs of guilt in our hearts. It is interesting to me that the situation gradually reverses itself as we age with our grown-up children, then feeling guilty over their over their failures with us. Since no one can do the job perfectly, we subject ourselves to a constant cross-examination in the courtroom of parental acceptability, right? Did I raise them fair? Did I teach them everything that, did I play favoritism? Did I love one more than the other? Could I have been there more? Where did I go wrong? Where did I fail? Thinking, just feeling guilty about, things that have already happened, that are grown up. You have to hope that what you teach them will stick with them, and hopefully they can make the decisions that are best for themselves. Okay. So don't get caught into that trap. All right. Okay. It says, I have even seen parents agonize over circumstances totally beyond their control, such as when they gave birth to a mentally retarded child, although the cause of the child's defect was genetic and completely unknowable until it occurred. They often interpret the disaster as a punishment for some past sin, right? And a lot of parents feel that way. They feel like if the child was born with some kind of mental deficiency or mental defect, they think it's their fault in some kind of way. And they treat the child as such because they feel guilty, that they feel like they were the cause of this child's condition, right? And it's like, oh wow, how do you deal with that? So my hat goes off to all the parents that are dealing with children that have mental health challenges, right? So he talks about once that idea has been accepted as truth, right? Like this punishment is for sin. My child being born with a mental health challenge is punishment for some past sin. Once you take on that truth, they will bear the personal responsibility for their child's misfortune from that day forward. This unfounded guilt can drive a wedge between two happily married people, destroying their relationship and consuming them in bitterness. Guilt can interfere with a healthy parent-child relationship in numerous ways. First, it can take the joy out of parenthood, turning the entire responsibility into a painful chore, right? So if you feel it, like if you're feeling guilty, and a lot of parents tend to, because they feel guilty, they throw the situation up into the child's face, or they'll throw the situation up into the other parent's face. Like, if you hadn't done this, he wouldn't be that way. Or you say, I'm sorry, little Marcus, I'm sorry that you turned out this way. I should have done this better, or I should have, I could have done that better. Not really knowing the circumstances of how things turned out, and unless you were a direct result of what, the child's mental state, still doesn't mean, that's something you want to throw in their face or throw in your spouse's face about it. It's a situation that, you're here and you were exposed to experience in this lifetime. So, hey, we just got to play the cards that we're dealt with in those situations. And it is a challenge, And it is very hard. It is extremely hard. It's extremely difficult to deal with a child on a daily basis that has mental health challenges. It's very taxing. It's very fatiguing. And I totally understand, right? I totally understand. And I'm not going to sit here and act like, I'm not going to sit there and act like I got it all figured out. And because I don't, I haven't, I know I haven't been the most awesome of parents, because of the choices that I made in the past, right? It's just something that I have to deal with. I can't be depressed about it because I got to keep going, I don't want to turn into I don't want to have mental challenges because, mental health challenges because, I'm dwelling or I'm stuck in the past with, things that happened that, hey, I can't go back and change. All right. So I just have to kind of deal with the things how they come. All right. So secondly, guilt almost always affects the way a parent handles a child. The typical reaction is to buy everything Junior screams for, whether he needs it or not, and to become much too permissive in matters of control. And a lot of times, it may not even be a mental health situation, a divorce. I see this a lot in divorced parents or children of divorced parents. When they're with the mother or they spend time in the home with dad or vice versa, they live with dad or live with mom, one of the parents tends to spoil them more. They pretty much let them do whatever they want to do, right? So because they feel guilty about the situation. And the child knows it. The child knows that, dad feels bad about putting us through this. And, he divorced mom. And, when we go over there, I know he feels bad about that. So that's a good time to ask him when we go over there. Right. So the child's taking full advantage of the situation because they know how you feel. They hear you talk to the mom, or they hear the mom talk bad about the dad. So when they go over there, they don't really want to go, and it severs the relationship, because you feel guilty about the way you handle things, going, in the past. And going forward, it affects the relationship with the children for you and for, your ex or the baby mama or whoever, right? It makes it really difficult to have a harmonious relationship with the child when these things are happening, and it's all because of guilt, right? So now that it's not so much that your ex hates you, your ex-husband or your ex-wife, they don't hate you. It's just that they do feel guilty about what they did, or they feel guilty about having to put the child through the divorce, right? And it's kind of like, oh, wow, once you bring that to someone's attention, then it's like they can process that more. So make sure you share that with somebody, right? Make sure you share that with somebody, and it may help them establish a better relationship with their child, which in turn will keep the child on this side as opposed to the child thinking that suicide is the only alternative. Okay. What else? I wanted to talk about something else. Okay. So with all where permission matters, the reasoning seems to be okay. With all that I've done wrong, right? That's what we will say. We'll say, with all that I've done wrong, the least I can do for the child is avoid punishment and unpleasantness, right? You never want an uncomfortable situation with your child, right? You avoid disciplining them. You avoid discipline because of what you've done. Like I was saying, all that I've done, I put you through all this, little Marcus, and the least I can do is get you whatever you want when you need it. I want to refrain from spanking you because, this is the only time that I see you, So by default, you let the child run all over you because of something that was some grown-up stuff, right? It doesn't, it turns out to be bad all the way around, okay? So anyway, let me do. I might have to do a part 2 because I am running out of time. All right, I'm gonna finish this readout real quick. The guilt affects the way the parent handles the child. The typical reaction is the junior screams for whether he needs it or not. Okay, with all that I've done wrong, at least I could do for the child is avoid punishment and unpleasantness. As we will discuss later, self-esteem splinters under the free-willing environment. Thirdly, through some mystery of perception, a child can usually feel hidden guilt in his parents. He knows something unidentifiable is there and wonders about its meaning. He may well conclude that it is all his fault. In short, guilt can be another formidable barrier in building self-respect among the young, right? Definitely. It will definitely reflect in the child, because the child will, especially with those that have been through divorce, right? And the children, no matter what, if you don't talk to the child or you don't have that conversation with the child, they're going to think it's their fault that you guys went through a divorce. Trust me. I went through a divorce twice, and children were involved both times, and it doesn't. No matter how much we try to keep them out of the loop or inform them that it was not their fault, they see it. They see it right through. It's like children are so intuitive, like it's scary, right? Because they already know what's going on. They already know that you talk bad about the other parent. You know, they know that. They know you talk bad about the parent, and they know what you're trying to do, right? They know that you don't like the situation that mom or dad put you in, right? And if you don't have that conversation and you let them know, hey, this was some grown-up shit that you didn't have anything to do about. You know, you didn't have nothing to do with it, so don't think that it's your fault, right? You know, even though you tell them that, they're still going to think that they that they had something to do with it. But just reassuring them kind of helps them with their own, issues, and kind of helps them build, their self-esteem, and will give them that extra reassurance that, okay, well, at least they did say that it wasn't my fault, right? But they feel it. They know what's going on. So it's better to have that conversation with them, so they don't feel guilty. And if they go on a guilt trip because, they think they're the reason that mom and dad are no longer together. And a lot of times one of the parents has to end up getting the short end of the stick, has to go and live in a crappy apartment and, can barely pay child support. And when the children come over to the house of the spouse that got the short end of the stick, it's like, wow, mom has this great big old house, and dad has a shitty apartment. Well, yeah, of course mom's going to talk shit about the dad, to make the children not want to go over there. So the children goes over to dad's house and sees the shitty apartment, and it's like, oh, mom was right. So it's like, oh, wow. It's crazy. Parents, adults tend to get very, very creative when it comes to divorce and things of that nature. All right. So just be mindful, keep the children in the loop, and let them know what's going on, and let them know that it's not their fault. Okay. What else? And I think I'm gonna stop right there. I'll probably do a part 2 and talk about this, because there's a few more things that I didn't get to touch on. But yeah, this book is good. It's a really, really good book. It has some wonderful points in there, and a lot of information that you can that you can use to kind of help you navigate, especially if your child has attempted suicide at some point. This may be a good read to kind of diagnose yourself, to kind of see where maybe this may intervene in you can behave differently towards your children. All right, and that way you don't have to worry about them trying to make the decision of staying with us or not. There's a lot of things that children contend with. Like I said, I work with children every day, and school is 1,000 times different than when we were growing up. Okay, I'm 40, and I went to school, over 20 years ago, and things have changed tremendously. I mean, you go into a school now, it's a high school now, and it's like, really? Everybody's like, they're huddled up in little groups and everybody's looking at the latest thing that happened on, social media, or and it's right there at their fingertips, and things are going on out in the world that like you don't even know about. You're focused on trying to get them, them instructions, or get them their directions for the day, and they're focused on what's going on outside and just not being present. So anything that they can tap into that's outside of school, right? That's what they do. That's what they do. They don't really, I don't know. No matter how many times you try to take the phones from them, you take the phones up, you tell them to put the phones down. It's addictive. All right. So it's very addictive. It's just, we have to find creative ways to connect with our children. And a lot of times we may have to break down and text. I know I run into a lot of parents that are like, I'm gonna call you. You pick up the phone when I call. I'm not gonna text you. So it's like, the child is in the middle of his friends, right? They're talking or hanging out or whatever, and the child has to step away and answer the phone. That becomes a burden now. And I'm like, really? So you don't want to answer the phone because you got mom saved in your contacts, and everybody else is gonna, poke fun at you because your mom's calling. Really? This is directly from the mouth of teenagers, right? They will, they'll step away and say they got to go to the bathroom or something and call their mom back or call their dad back. And it's like, really? I mean, that could be a life or death situation, and I need you to answer that phone, right? But you're going to not answer the phone because you're around your friend. It's funny, but it's not funny. Like, it's not. It's crazy, the thought process of children nowadays. And, it's amazing. So you have to find a way to connect with them, on their level. So if you need to text them, text them. Hey, text them, and talk to them about that. Talk to them about how important it is to pick up the phone when you call, and start working through that, because obviously there's some things that that just need to be worked on. And if you never bring any attention to it, the child may never realize, or a parent may never realize that that's a problem. Okay. Like I said, feel free to share this video with someone. You never know who this could help. Our relationship with our child is a very, very influential one. All right. As we grow with our children, as they go into adulthood, we're no longer parents per se. We become advisors, and we have to advise them, the best way that we can. And they're going to come to us to get them through life's issues and life's problems, and we're going to have answers for them. And reading books like this can definitely, definitely help out, right? Read something, every day, no matter what it is. Read something every day to expand your mind. Stay tapped into the current events, and things of that nature. Stay up on the latest technology so you can know what's going on with your children, okay, guys? Because without the children, we have no future as a human race, all right? So please, let's help them build up. And like I said, I'm going to do a part 2 tomorrow of how to raise your child's self-esteem. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Shout out to my man, Chad. Shout out to Danica. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Chris. And shout out to Linus. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Y'all take it easy. Try not to do too much. Live life to the fullest. Peace.